Hi all, well, as you saw with all that silliness at the beginning of the video, yes, I've managed to wire up the reversing camera and the radio. And I think I told you in the last video that I've never attempted anything like this before, so yes, there were a few nerves involved. But I hope you'll agree with me when I say that I actually think the quality of the system's pretty good. I mean, you've got to bear in mind, that's a £20 Chinese radio, it's the cheapest one that they do on eBay. And the reversing camera itself, that was only £30 as well. You'll have to excuse him, he's watching the birds out the window. But if you like what you've seen so far, please give us a like, and down that bottom right hand corner down there somewhere, that's where the subscribe button is. If you could subscribe, both Merlin and I, we'd really appreciate it. It would help this small YouTube channel of ours no end. So Merlin, should we get in the back and show me exactly how we wired this all together then? I reckon that's a yes. Now you need to bear in mind I've never done anything like this before, so initially I found it quite daunting, but once I got my head around it, it was really straightforward. So there's 4 wires that were my main concern, and 2 of them are there, positive and a negative. They literally just come off the reversing camera itself, and it's just a case of tapping them into the existing wiring that was there from the original brake light. So that was straightforward. The other 2 wires that were giving me a headache came off this power lead here. Now the positive and the negative I fed down to the reversing wire there and tapped in there with the positive obviously, and then the negative down to that ground point there. The only other wire at the back that I had to worry about was the video lead. Again, plug and play, we've talked about that, say no more. So in the cab, things were equally as straightforward. So the wiring loom just plugs straight into the back of the radio. So plug and play, no problems there. Obviously we've talked about the video lead. Again, just plug it straight in, no problems there. And the one thing that did give me a headache was the aerial, because that wouldn't plug directly into the back of this unit. I had to buy a little adapter from Amazon, which I think cost me just over £1. But of course I had to wait a few days for that to arrive. But once it arrived, I plugged that in and I fired up old Helsing, slipped him into reverse to be greeted by no signal. I almost had a meltdown. I thought, what have I done wrong? As it turned out, I'd connected the video cable up to the wrong port. So once I put it into the correct port, everything worked absolutely fine. So everything worked great at first, but then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I started to get these little gremlins. And by that I mean I'd slip Helsing into reverse, and then sometimes it'd work absolutely fine, but then other times you'd get like an intermittent no signal flashing up on the screen. So you'd have an image, no signal, image, no signal. And of course it turned out that there was a bad ground. So it's probably worth mentioning at this point that when you slip Helsing into reverse, it doesn't automatically show an image on the screen. In order for that to happen, you have to press an auxiliary button on the screen and then it'll flash up the image. And that's because I didn't use the wiring adapter that came with the radio. I said to you before, I literally just plugged the loom into the back of the radio and left it at that. Now because I got this no signal issue flashing up on the screen, what I decided to do, and following on from people's advice online I should say, was disconnect it, feed it back up the pillar, and if you remember in my last video there was an interior light in there. Now that interior light has got a permanent live feed to it. So I've tapped into that. Now whenever I press the auxiliary button on the screen, it shows an image behind the van. So let's take a closer look at this 7018B Chinese radio from eBay, the cheapest one that they do. If you remember correctly from my last video, I told you that the whole point of me buying this was because I wanted something cheap and cheerful that would act as a reversing camera screen and that would also look nice in the dash. So regarding the head unit, it's slightly larger than a standard. The surround that came with it was too small, so to make it fit I've had to chop it up. You can probably see in that top corner there, and likewise in the bottom. In fact, all 4 corners I've had to chop it up to make it fit, make it look presentable, and in all honesty it doesn't really. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure it up and get myself on eBay and find something that will fit. So let me just quickly show you the one thing that I find annoying. No, we're not in a Volkswagen, we're in a Citroen Relay. And what it is, if I go to settings and we go down to logo setting, and don't ask me why, put in the code 1234, enter. There's your choice. And yeah, there's no Citroen there. So I don't want to take too long going through all the features, but if I quickly just show you the radio, you can clearly see that works absolutely fine. And in fact, it's really responsive.
This is classic.
Really responsive. If we go back to the home page, I've got an SD card in there, a little tiny one. And as we can see, Guardians of the Galaxy, mixtape, there's all your songs. I won't click on any because obviously copyright. Pearl Jam, yeah, fine. Word Gets Around, Stereophonics. In fact, let's click on that and quickly pause it. So that's what the screen looks like. That's what the screen looks like. And you can cycle through all of your songs. You can see it's not folders, so you haven't got a folder for each album. They literally just all merge into one. So there's your Stereophonics, there's your Pearl Jam. So I plugged a memory stick into the USB socket, and if we go back to the Explorer page, there it appears at the top, and if we select a film, Bloodsport, do you remember that old classic? The quality on the screen, it's pretty impressive. If we go back up to the home page, I'll just show you there's the auxiliary button. If we press that, it'll give us a view behind the van. I mean, that works perfectly fine. You can see I'm not getting a drop in signal there now that I've wired it up differently. Works great. Now, I'm recording from my main phone, which is connected to this via Bluetooth. But there you go, it recognises it. Despite me recording it, Galaxy S8, there it is. If we call someone... So naturally, when you're trying to call somebody from the phone that you're recording on, of course it's going to stop your video from recording. But it works fine. I mean, like I say, the video stopped recording. Scarlett picked up and I could hear her through the speakers of the van, and it's really clear. She can hear me fine. So that works. It works good. So there's one final feature that I'd like to show you guys, and that's the mirror link feature. So I've connected my phone to the radio via the USB cable, and I'm currently filming on Scarlett's phone. I've had to pinch it from her. She wasn't happy, to say the least. But let's have a look. Let's go onto Instagram, and there you go, guys. There's the Pilgrim Pods Instagram page. Follow along, follow the journey on there. And what else we got? Now this is the one thing, if this works, I'll be so pleased, and that is Google Maps. So currently in portrait mode. If I turn the phone sideways on, there you go, landscape. And if I'm not mistaken, yep, you can control your phone via the screen on your radio. That's the cheapest double DIN radio that you can get from eBay today. And of course we've got the reversing camera as well. Everything's all wired up, you've seen it, everything's working fine. And if we break it all down, I think we said the radio was £20. In fact, it was just shy of £20, it was £18. £18 for a radio. The reversing camera was £30. The cage was just over £10. The other thing that we had to buy, of course, was the fascia, just to tidy up the dashboard because of that big hole there. And other than that, I think we just had to buy a aerial adapter to, well, yeah, connect the aerial to the radio itself. I think all in all, if you also take into consideration the length of video cable that we had to buy, because obviously the one that they supplied was too short, I think all in all you're looking at about £80 for all of that. And when you take into consideration that for just a cheap branded double din radio. I mean, what do they come in nowadays? They come in at about, what, not £80-90 just for something nasty that you've heard of. I think we've got a pretty good deal here. So there you have it, guys. Everything's working absolutely fine, and now I guess the question is, how long for? If you've enjoyed this video or taken absolutely anything from it, then please give us a like, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I know I said before at the beginning of the video, but it really would help us no end. If you've got any comments, drop them in the comment section below. I'd be particularly interested in hearing about anybody else's experiences who've tried anything similar to this, you know, gone the cheap route. And if you've got any other comments or questions, like I say, drop them down below and I'll get back to you. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you soon in another video. Take care all. Bye.